Welcome back. In this final lesson of the section, we will revisit some of the main takeaways for the exam. This is definitely not a reason to skip the section, but just to serve as a summary of the section. We will start off with what AWS IAM is used for. Remember that AWS IAM stands for Identity and Access Management. It's a service that helps you to securely control access to your AWS account and everything in it. It provides a central way to control who can and cannot use your AWS resources and services. You control IAM access on your AWS account for your users. Users are individual IAM accounts that represent a person or service who uses the IAM user to interact with AWS. Remember that only the root user has full permissions over an AWS account, and that regular users will not have any permissions when they are initially created, but we can directly assign permissions. Or we can put these IAM users in groups, which are a collection of IAM users. We apply permissions to groups, which give access to the users and make it easier to manage multiple users with the same permissions. For services, we can use IAM roles, which we assign specific permissions for specific tasks. Roles can be assumed by users, application, and services. Remember that they do not have any passwords or access keys. We define permissions by using policies, and policies are JSON documents used to define permissions within AWS. All permissions are implicitly denied by default. Let's quickly move on to the AWS SDK or Software Development Kit. I want to mention it here in the event it shows up on your exam. It's simply a way to manage your AWS services using a programming language like the ones listed here. Remember to use MFA or multi-factor authentication anywhere you can, because it adds an extra layer of security on top of your username and password. SCPs, or Service Control Policies, are used to define the maximum available permissions for the members of an account. Remember that they don't actually grant any permissions, and this is very important. Also, remember to use the audit tools we spoke about in an earlier video to audit your AWS account, like the IAM Credential Report and the IAM Access Advisor. Moving on to the IAM Best Practices. Always create one user account per physical user. When creating these accounts, always keep in mind the principle of least privilege. And use groups to assign permissions so you know exactly how much access a user has. And leverage what AWS has already created for you to create your permissions. In order to better protect your AWS account, make sure you have a strong password policy. And things that can help us enforce these kind of things is enabling MFA anywhere you can. And never use the root account for daily tasks, only when needed. And don't forget, you can use access keys for programmatic access. And you should be rotating these access keys and passwords every X amount of days to better protect your account. These keys should never be shared with anyone, and don't ever store passwords or access keys in your applications or servers. Instead, use AWS roles to give access to these services and resources. And to better protect your AWS account, use conditional access within your policies. That's it for this section summary. I'll see you in the next section.